I call this meeting to order. Can we have the roll call?
Yes. Faith Ham.
Here, present.
Tony Perugini. Tony Perugini. Okay. Ann Harrigan here. You have a quorum.
Okay, can we rise for the pledge? Do we have it?
Yes.
No, it's good enough.
I pledge allegiance
Jesus, to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Our first curriculum meeting of the 2021-2022 school year. I'm going to open the meeting with public comment. Do we have any?
no public comment from the audience and no emails received to the CPS COVID-19 website for this meeting.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is a review of the minutes of the June 14th, 2021 meeting.
Faith?
Yes, sir.
I'll interject. Just, I'm sorry, I was muted earlier. I just wanted to say, as far as modifying the agenda, you have to make that motion now. Per Robert Rules of Order and FOIA, so we don't get in trouble.
Okay, thank you. All right, it's been brought to our attention that item 3B needs to be moved agenda or repositioned into the agenda as new business. Do I hear a motion to move that item?
So Faith,
Yes. Tony, go.
So can I make the motion? I'm sorry.
Yes. Yes.
So I move that we create a new item 5, item 3. Actually, we need to make item 4 new business and move item 3A to item 5 under new business. And well, actually, no, let's take a step back. 4 should be new business, and we move 3B to item 4, and item 5 would be adjourned.
Okay.
Thank you, second.
Ann, was that a second?
Yes.
Yay.
Yep. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Item 2, review of the minutes of the June 14th meeting. You've all had a chance to review. Are there any additions, corrections, or changes to the minutes?
I actually have something.
Ann?
So I reviewed the minutes and I was not there at that meeting apparently. But I noticed that it said that you had tabled the minutes from May 10th meeting. And so I was wondering if we're going to vote on those tonight as well.
These items are, the tabled minutes are not on the agenda. And the motion or the item agenda is a review of the minutes of the June 14th, 2021 meeting, and that's what we'll act on.
So we'll need to add this to the next agenda and approve it at that meeting.
I say the best thing, probably the easiest, most straightforward thing to do is just add the May 10th minutes back on the October agenda for.
Yep.
For review. We table those because there's actually a notation on one of the informational items that we had, but you weren't there to make the motion to amend the minutes. So.
Okay. Now I'm.
Yeah.
So on the June minutes, I have no.
That has to be October.
And so we'll get a link to those units to review.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
As far as the June minutes, I have no updates.
Right. Okay. And any additions? We're going to move that to the next meeting.
Yes.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes for the June 14th?
I move to approve the minutes of the June
Yes.
meeting.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
That's you.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, thank you. Okay, item 3 is new business. The flexibilities, formerly 3B of the informational items, flexibilities for implementing the Connecticut guidelines for educator evaluations 2017 for the 2021-2022 school year.
So, I think we're gonna start with A, the Curriculum Writing Institute, and then I think flexibilities become number 4 under new business.
Okay,
So we're at the old agenda. So we're on 3A, the Curriculum Writing Institute.
yes, thank you. Okay, 3A, informational item, Curriculum Writing Institute.
Okay, so thank you so much. I know that some of you may have heard a little bit about the Curriculum Writing Institute from our convocation. I wanted to share, since I had spoken with a couple of you, I think we even had a board meeting on the day that I was headed over there. And we had a wonderful turnout for our Curriculum Writing Institute of over 80 educators, K through 12 across the district. It was well attended, and more importantly, the work that came out of that was extremely beneficial. We were able to get a lot of curriculum writing done, and teachers were able to work together collaboratively across grade levels and sometimes even across subject areas. So I wanted to share this with you all, being that you're like the cheerleaders behind the scenes for curriculum. And I wanted to show you a little video that Mike Salamini thankfully put together for us. So I am going to go ahead and share my screen. Tony and Faith, can you see this?
Yes.
All right. And you know, I'll play this in this room an hour ago. That is great. And it worked perfectly.
Technology's out to get us.
Wow.
If I had to describe the Curriculum Writing Institute for someone who wasn't here this summer, I would say it was a wonderful opportunity to integrate many different subjects into one area, and it also gave us the opportunity to be invested into the students' learning.
I would describe the Writing Institute as an opportunity for teachers across the district to have some PD on how to make authentic learning tasks. We had time for PD in the morning and followed by lots of collab time with grade levels to create a unit that is updated for our curriculum.
It gives us a whole chunk of time where we can devote hours to just working on a unit, and it flows, as opposed to working individually at my home computer or working in my classroom, having an hour on a Tuesday afternoon, and then the next time I worked on curriculum writing, I would have to reacclimate myself to think, where did I leave off, what I still have to do. This is so beneficial.
One thing I learned during the Curriculum Writing Institute isn't so much something new, but it's something that's been solidified. It's that when you are able to create something that's interdisciplinary, that merges multiple different things together, students are able to make connections and the learning sticks.
And it's a good beginning point in which we can then look at other units in the future and know that there will be consistency across the grade level and throughout the district, as well as making connections to grade 2 teachers in other buildings.
My biggest takeaway from the Curriculum Writing Institute is really taking a look at our curriculum and trying to make changes and adjustments to better it for the next year.
The most important things to take away from this experience is that we had time to work together. And for years we've been asking for instruction on how to create curriculum, and this gave us that opportunity, and it's been awesome.
Just having a great amount of teachers together from different subject areas, and just bouncing ideas back and forth between people that you don't have a chance to see very often, seeing everyone, being with everyone, and running ideas back and forth day to day with different people has really worked well.
Also, you work better with a balanced breakfast.
And you get a t-shirt. What more could you want?
Marlene, could you repeat that? We did not hear.
Yes, you know what, I'm also gonna grab the microphone up here, because hopefully that will help us out. So Faith, I was saying that if you have any questions about the Curriculum Writing Institute, we'd be happy to answer those.
I'm going to confess, I don't know, is it possible the microphone was on because there was a lot of reverberation?
So you didn't hear it very well?
No, we heard it, but it was a double echo. I think it was the microphone might have been picking it up at the same time too. But right now you're loud and clear, so I think we're good.
Yes, thank you.
Am I too loud? Am I blowing you away?
No, you're good. Thank you.
Well, I'm sorry about that. I know Tony watched that for that was his second time, but Faith, I'm also happy to share that with you so that you can check it out without such bad sound quality.
Great, thank you. I don't have any questions. I don't know if Anne or Tony does, but Anne?
Yeah, so would you say that like the biggest benefit of that Curriculum Writing Institute was the looking at curriculum from grade to grade and having some of that cohesiveness involved, or was it more trying to update curriculum, or how would you describe sort of the...
I think the big takeaways from that were different for different people. I think that the teachers really appreciated the time to collaborate as a group on a project. I think from a district perspective, and probably from the teachers as well, it was quality time to update curriculum. I think from a district perspective, being that we're focused on acceleration as a strategy for learning, that we really are focused on deep and engaging learning tasks. And so this group was given real good coaching and instruction around starting with an authentic real world task, making sure it's attached to standards, and then backwards planning. So we definitely use that on, backwards design planning to do this. The collaboration was key, the time, the fact that they were trained in how to write curriculum came through and was a need that I had heard, for the last couple years that I've been around, and wanted to give them that training. And then from my perspective, I've talked with this committee about having a library of our curriculum that's easily accessible. And so that was a giant step forward of having that all in one place. So that was another benefit. The last one is the feedback. So they did it all together. So we were able to provide teachers with feedback so they can go back, revise, put those changes in, and then we sort of take it and it's a living, breathing document, but we've still got it in the curriculum library now.
Right, thank you. I heard good, really good things from a couple of teachers out there who attended, and like you say, they really just appreciate being able to work with their colleagues.
Yeah, yeah.
And also, there's something to having that time set aside just to work on that one thing, that curriculum building, and the fact that
Yeah.
curriculum building is.
You know, they started with, you know, nothing on the paper, and then at the end of that week, they had done so much work. It was great to see. It was great to work with them, and you could see how many people attended because they'll have those red T-shirts on at convocation. So it was nice. It was very nice to see.
Marlene, a question. So I know one of the topics was acceleration and getting the teachers geared to update the curriculum around that. Is there going to be an opportunity to have another curriculum institute check in somewhere, maybe mid-year, to see how that's going and adjust curriculum content depending on how acceleration is working for various teachers? Or is this just a one-time kickoff, or to be more sessions?
I would say definitely it was a kickoff, and it's something that I'd like to replicate again next June as well. And what we've had, the checkpoints along the way, are that they received feedback over the summer, and then at that August professional development day, each department chair, each team member who was present shared that with the rest of their larger department or their grade level or their school. So now that's being put in place. And we'll have, whether it's grade level meetings or department meetings or subject area meetings along the way to check in and see how that's going.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Next item is the Sba Assessment Data.
Yes. So I believe in your packets, you have a link to at least some of the information. So I will share that with you first. Nope, that's not the one I want to share. So, hang on. My eyes are no good from this distance, so I'm going to share one more. I believe it's this one. Okay. All right. How's that looking from your end, Tony and Faith?
It looks good. I have my
thank
own
you.
copy too, so I'm good if you don't want to share.
Yeah.
Great, great. Okay, so we're looking at our 2021 Smarter Balanced ELA Math and NGSS Science data. And we had gotten, school districts get this information over the summer. It is embargoed until a certain point this year. They released batches of it. So what you're looking at here is our English language arts percentages of students who achieved bands 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then you have those who are at or above goal, which is that combination of bands 3 and 4. And then you also have at the bottom the district 3 through 8 percentage at or above goal. And what you can see there is how we've done as compared to, if anyone in the back here wants it, maybe a little tricky to see. You may want to look and see how we did compared to a non-COVID year. So this is just our district, and you could see where we were in 15, 16, 16, 17, 17, 18, 18, 19. So I was pleased to see that the change was not drastic. As you recall, we had mask breaks, we had hand washing, we had later arrival and dismissal procedures. And we were working very hard to make sure that there was not a lot of learning loss. And in concert with that, we were really working hard at acceleration to make sure that kids would have what they needed in the grade level to master the standards. And so those there are our ELA scores and math scores. You look at the column all the way to the right, you can see the percent that we dipped on average from our 18-19 scores. So our largest dip may have been in grade 8 for math. For math and for ELA. In the other areas, it was, 2% in grades 5 and 6, and grade 7.
Marlene, quick question. Other than being a COVID year, we had all mix of hybrid and synchronous, asynchronous learning. What do you have an idea yet what drove that 12% at grade 8? Was any one single factor, or was there a culmination of perfect storm for that?
Certainly it was a perfect storm. We also had some things at play with cohorting. Because students were cohorted, they did not mix up for classes. And so they really were staying with the same group, which we know is not a good strategy. But our hands were really tied with, trying to make sure that we brought all kids in. But we weren't mixing them up and remixing them and having the teachers moved from classroom to classroom rather than the students. So that is one area. But Kevin, did you want to?
I was going to add two things on that. One, that dip, there were some spots where some of the dips matched what we otherwise were predicting. So grade 3 might have been an example where we had a little bit more of a dip and it matched what we were thinking might happen. Grade 8 was not that case. However, anecdotally from the state and in looking at some of the data, there were districts where we had 12 and 15% dip in grade 8. There was 25, 30% dip in grade 8 in some other districts. So I think across the state, grade 8 was a particular grade level that from a statewide view had some significant drops. So I do think a little bit of the perfect storm that you're talking about, we're not 100% sure about why all of those dips. It wasn't entirely inconsistent with what was happening in other districts across the state.
Got it. Thank you.
And I want to show you this other spreadsheet that I started to share with you before, because I think that really shows a bigger picture when you compare where we were with where other districts were elsewhere in the state. So I want to make sure you can see this. All right, let me know how that looks. So if we want to first take a look at ELA, you can see where we were as compared to where a lot of other districts were. So while we may have had a slight dip, there were some other districts who had, larger overall grade 3 through 8 drops.
Marlene, can you explain what we're looking at?
Sure. So
okay, there you go. Thank you. No, we didn't see the headings.
Oh, okay. So this is a list of all the districts in our DIRG across the left and combined grades 3 through 8 English language arts scores. And if we were to scroll to the bottom, you would see that among our DIRG, we ended up placing 3rd out of the 21 districts. We had 77.23% of our students were at goal. And other districts did not fare so well. Their gap was larger. And if we move over to math, grade 3 through 8 combined, you'll see the same thing. And this row K is this year's data. And you can compare it to last year's, and you can go back 4 or 5 years and see the percentage change.
So is it safe to say that we had made quite a nice in the math the year before? And
We
so-
did. We had put significant energies and efforts into that math and had hoped to continue some of that work, but COVID really impacted us being able to pull people to work together, across tables, across buildings. And we do have plans to do that, particularly at some of the higher grade levels.
Could you raise that up to Madison for me?
Hang on, Faith. I'm trying.
I got it.
Yep.
Okay, so they're one district that, it looks like the only district that improved. So it's just observation. I read a story about it, that they actually somehow did that. It's interesting to see us compared against other districts, but I am concerned about what's going on in our district. And there are some other grades where we have 10% declines in performance. And a lot of factors going on last year. And I understand that. I know you guys are saying acceleration is the way to go. I look at these results and I'm a little leery. I'm concerned. So how can we make sure that with acceleration, we're on the right track, and that we're not losing important skills as we look to ensure that the kids are getting what they need without extraneous information?
So it sounds like you want me to convince you that our students are going to be okay. Even in the
I
face
know
of
they're going
our
to be okay.
acceleration work and our curriculum writing work and our additional collaboration time and our new department chair at the high school and our new textbooks and the new math inventory. I think all of these things, Faith, are truly pointing in the right direction. And I think they are what enabled us to continue to be 5th in the state of Connecticut when you're talking about our scores as compared to the rest of the state. I think that I had calls today asking to reach out to talk about what we're doing. So I'm feeling pretty good about where we're headed. I am. Do I like to see a drop? No, but I have colleagues who have had a 15, 20, 30% drop. So when you compare it to that, I think, heck, we are on the right track. This is what we need to be doing for our kids.
And I would not be doing my job if I didn't ask that question again, I understand that probably the biggest thing, the biggest factor was every single obstacle that was thrown in your direction. But I also want to make sure that we are continually monitoring this and constantly asking ourselves, are we doing the right thing? And right now, it looks, yes, in comparison to other districts, but, as I said, need to ask the question.
Trust but verify, I think, is what Faith is saying. So Marlene, I think, not that I'm going to try to sell Faith on this, but I think one of the reassurances I have is the fact that acceleration is identifying those gaps the kids need to catch up on. It's not trying to reteach the last school year and fall further behind. So I know, based on the curriculum writing, talking to some of the teachers, they're pretty confident they get the kids caught up and actually a little bit ahead. So I know we're not going to see these results for a while, probably not during next school year. But it'd be nice to see some indicators, some checkpoints throughout the year to see how, maybe from the teachers, just to see how they feel the kids are doing, if they truly are getting caught up and accelerated, and if they're seeing those positive changes happening. But I trust it'll happen.
Which I think goes back to the question you asked earlier, Tony. Are we going to go back and take stock mid-year? And so, again, that's all.
I think all of the things and the questions that you are asking is that living and breathing every single day, day in and day out work that Kevin and myself and the math coordinator and the English language arts coordinator and Mary and Maureen, this is what we live and breathe. We're constantly doing, those check-ins. So I appreciate that you have an appreciation for those questions and that work which we do. So that's good that we're all sitting on this curriculum committee. Thank you.
Okay. Great. All right. Anne, I'm sorry. Do you have any questions? You were.
I'm good, but I have been told that I need to, when I ask questions, I need to have the mic too.
When you have one? All right. When you do, we'll pass it over, Anne.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so I don't want to miss the NGSS piece of that, which was at the bottom of the handout that everyone has and the link. So grade 5, 80%, grade 8, 73%. We really stayed about steady where we were. We have some work to do with grade 11, which, as you know, the work that we had planned was not able to happen because of the virus and our work with the Connecticut Science Center. I sometimes wonder that you all are going to be very broken.
I'd be surprised if we had a meeting and didn't mention that. Now I'm kind of expecting it. So it's actually a good thing. Thank you.
So we certainly have plans for that. I was at a instructional leadership team today where Dr. Gadd was really delving into the data of the NGSS with her team. We are working with Julie Barker, and the administrative team and I have a meeting on Thursday to further explore some of the improvements that we can make, some of which are really easy. And we don't think that we will see that number again. And that is it for the assessment data.
Okay. Thank you for that. Any questions on NGSS from anybody? Just, okay. I don't see any. All right. Next item is an out-of-state overnight field trip. It's just informational. It's not out of country, so therefore we don't have to take action on it.
Yes, and typically these field trips, just because of the fact that we're in COVID, you might not see a trip like this because it's not for approval. But being that we're just starting to get out of the woods with everything, I thought it was important to let you know, in case anyone in the community asked you, like, wow, we're sending kids to Florida? What's going on? How do you feel about that?
Disneyland.
Yeah, Disney World.
Even better with Matt Swanson. It's going to be a fun trip. I know Matt a little bit.
I'm going to run this over to Mary so you could hear her clearly, and she's going to give you a little inside scoop on the trip to Disney.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, good. This is a great trip that Matt has put into place, and I'm going to start at the end where questions typically arise, which is there a plan for insurance and ensuring that if students sign up for a trip, especially in these uncertain times, is it covered? And yes, it is. He has discussed this with the group Destinations Unlimited that's working to support the trip and organize not only security, but also any kind of insurance and returns for fees in the event of a cancellation. So I know that this is part of the turbulent time question. So the vendors would get as much refund as possible. That we strongly recommend anyone who participates to get the insurance so that they would get at least 75% of what the outlay is. So this is a trip for our students who are participating in the History Through Pop Culture course. And it's tied to a larger project where they're looking at pop culture through the lens of the way Disney has portrayed American culture for decades. And so they will be going to Florida to sit with at the Imagination campus and to work with the Imagineers on theme park design and how they design and develop stories, so that as students then retell some of their historical insights based on their work in the pop culture class, utilizing different Disney movies, they're going to create their own story at Cheshire High School by doing a mural down by the assistant principal's office. And so that's going to act as an installation demonstrating their year's worth of work. So this is a way for them to learn from how Disney demonstrates their messaging, how Disney tells stories, how Disney utilizes and also commemorates shifts in American culture and how we're going to use that as a lens to understand American popular culture. So this full project is very interdisciplinary. There are going to be contributions from our art department, our career and technical education department, and also obviously our social studies department and our special education department. So really bringing a number of students together and a number of talents together to tell the story of American popular culture through the lens of Disney. So that's the purpose of the trip. There are 28 students attending. So the student ratio, they're looking at 2 chaperones, so 1 chaperone for every 14 students. They would be traveling obviously by bus, airplane, and motor coach between here and there. And they'll be provided with meals, some meals on their own, certainly the day of the initial trip. And there's also a security guard that's going to be present at the hotel to ensure that the whole group is safe. And the cost is $2,658 for each attendee.
Great. Sounds like quite a trip.
And quite a project. It's a huge project that they've undertaken. It's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
So they're calling it the Disney Museum Project.
I was going to say, I don't remember or recall this type of trip in the past. Is this something new, or was there some similar trips to different
This is new.
parts of the country?
Yeah, this is new.
It sounds pretty exciting. And the other question I had was, do we have for students or parents that maybe can't afford the trip, are there any type of fundraising or other avenues that we're looking at? I know you always have a couple programs in mind when you do these trips, Mary.
Yes, and with every trip, students can also do some fundraising prior to the trip. So that's how we typically handle that.
Great. Thank you.
Sure. My pleasure. Oh, that is April 7th through the 13th. So over April vacation. A while away.
Great. Wonderful. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. And then last item on the under informational items is state assessment calendar.
Yes, if you'd like to take a look, the state releases each fall the state assessment calendar. So I always try and make sure that folks see that in September. We will set our district calendar usually somewhere in January once we have a better idea of snow days and can gauge how many weeks we're really going to be in school. So.
Okay. Just taking a quick look at it. All right, thank you.
Sure.
Any comments or questions? No. Yeah, Tony?
So just one quick question in the state assessment calendar.
Yes.
I have no issues with that. I get it. I just wonder sometimes, as you know, we have parents that are worried about too much testing going on. And as long as folks understand that this is not for all grade levels, a certain grade levels. And I think even last year, Marlene, you taught that someone asked a question, how much time is spent actually preparing for the SBAC? And I want to say it was about maybe 4 hours in total. Would it be worthwhile to do something for each one of these tests so folks have an idea of, it's not a lot of time, it's a few hours here and there, it's not going to take up the whole year, just to put people's minds at ease that's all.
Yeah, no, we can do that. And we also talked about having a little fun with some of the test questions at one of our curriculum committee meetings this fall.
I'm ready.
So, all right. So we'll make sure we plan that.
Real quick, Marlene, could you quickly go through, we all understand what the SBAC is. These other tests, could you just explain what they're measuring?
Sure. Bear with me a second. I just want to pull it up so I'm looking at the same thing. Now, those of you who are here, don't laugh. I know I just blew that up very much, but I'm having a hard time seeing it from this distance.
I say, I'll read it. How about if I read
Oh,
them to
I
you?
can see it. No, I got it. I got it, Faith. So the NGSS is the Next Generation
Right.
Science Standards Assessment. That first thing is just so that if you needed to, this is sort of a document internally as well. That is the browser that we use to access the Smarter Balance and the NGSS tests. The Connecticut Alternative Assessment is for special education students with a very specific line item in their IEP that allows them to take a version of the science test. I'm sorry, of the regular test. And then you can see this, the second one, the Alternative Science Assessment, the CTAS, again, especially for some of our most impaired students. The Smarter Balanced Assessment, that is the one for grades 3 through 8. And then the SAT School Day, which is only for our grade 11 kids.
Okay, thank you.
And so really it's the SAT School Day for all grade 11 across the state, the Smarter Balance for all the kids 3 through 8, the NGSS for grades 3, 5, and 8. Those other two are specifically for special education students.
Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions? No. All right, moving on to item 4, right?
Okay. Yes. Now, do you all have
new business?
Can you all access the slides?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So what I will do is I will walk you through them. So you remember last year that Commissioner Cardona at the time had provided districts with an opportunity to have some flexibility in their educator evaluation plan. And the reason for that was because of COVID and getting into classrooms and spending too much time and having teachers out of the classroom for some of those more formal evaluations. What we have typically heard from our teachers and our evaluators is that the informal evaluations sometimes can be much more meaningful because they're sort of on the spot, they're not planned, you don't know someone's coming in, it seems to lend itself more to real life and to some really nice feedback. So this year, the new commissioner also has granted us an opportunity to utilize the new flexibilities. In the guidance, it indicates that we need to meet with our PDEC committee, our group of administrators and teachers who represent all different types of evaluations. So teacher evaluation, school counselors, school social workers, OTs, PTs, etc. And they have said that we can implement these new flexibilities. The bottom line really is they're the same flexibilities as last year, except that there is a final summative evaluation that takes into consideration the percentages as outlined in this document, which were the same as before. So I met with the committee last week. We reviewed the new flexibilities. Dr. Gadd was there. And we had some conversation and they said, yes, they would like to implement these new flexibilities. And so that meant that I need to present that to all of you in hopes that you would say, yes, we want to do that again for this year. And we would bring it to the full board for agreement.
Okay. Get back to see everybody. All right, so do I hear a motion to accept the flexibilities for implementing the Connecticut guidelines for educator evaluation, 2017 for the 2021-2022 school year to full board consideration? Okay.
Dan said so moved.
Okay.
Question.
Second?
So, oh, go ahead. Oh. Sorry, man. Let me jump back and forth between Ann and your seat. So seed, I have flashbacks to 4 or 5, 6, 7 years ago when then Governor Malloy and the SD put in effect that very detailed seed evaluation system that was pretty much rejected by every teacher group in the state for a number of reasons. Looking at this, I know this is this different than that seed? I would say yes, because it's much more concise and to the point. And I noticed that there is a one measure which is nice to see, because I think this was a huge contention point with teachers 4 or 5 years ago, which was that teachers can determine one related parent goal and get stakeholder feedback on that, which I think is a great thing. I was kind of curious, is the teacher going to receive feedback from parents on that? How would that work, that one aspect?
So that's a really good question, Tony. So that piece is similar to the original seed evaluation plan. What they've expanded it to is student engagement or principal advisory committee, and then the teachers at large decide on a couple of parent feedback goals so that everybody could be moving in the same direction and rowing the boat in the same direction. And so Mary talked today about, well, Mary, do you want to share it? Mary talked today about some nice parent feedback goals that they were thinking about over at the high school. So I'll let her explain.
Yeah, so we review our survey data and we analyze what the parents shared with us, and we look at how, when we start with parent data, we see where the biggest concerns were, is that mirrored in the student data, and then what does the teacher data on a similar item say? And so we articulated 2 goals, one in the area of helping parents and students understand that there's an anonymous way to report concerns, and that those concerns get responded to. And so how can we do that? By teachers setting up, and this is part of what we're working through, teachers setting up in their classrooms very clear expectations, and then sharing out when they see any kinds of concerns emerging, sharing that with their team, looking at instructional strategies to support any kind of concerns that they might see, or if needed, reaching out to administration or school counseling, and then ensuring that that parent communication is a piece of that. So that's one area of the feedback from parents that we were looking at. And the other was that the parents and students reported that some students may not feel as included depending on what their involvements are. And so how can we drill down into that a little bit more? So an example through instruction would be, how do you group students? Are you ensuring that everyone feels that they're participatory? And so so we're in the development of those goals, and then the specific indicators for how we'd know if we're making progress on those based on the survey data. And then when we resurvey, we see if that is improved. We've done that in the past, and what we looked at regarding the parent and student feedback data is we have made progress on communication goals. Those were our specific and stated goals for the past couple of years, and that the responses we had from parents were very strong on those data points that we had been working on. So that's how we developed that piece of the parent peer feedback goal.
I think that's huge. And especially with the parental involvement we have in our town, I think that's going to bode very well. But it also sounds like that feedback would also help the teachers right away, by quickly address those needs. So I'm excited about it, because I remember when the original seed was trying to be done, I remember a lot of pushback, particularly from teachers, because the parent feedback wasn't really clearly defined, at least in a way that didn't give them the opportunity to help set what those goals were. Because I think it's important. So I'm a big fan of this. I will support this 100%. It just seems much cleaner, more simple, and elegant. So I look forward to the results of this. Thank you for working on it.
Great. Anyone else have any questions? You're good? Okay.
Okay, so the motion on the floor is to accept the flexibilities for implementing the CT guidelines for educator evaluation 2017 for the 2021-2022 school year, for full consideration by the board. All in favor?
Looks unanimous.
Yep.
Unanimous, and I got Ann as making the motion. Did someone want to take a second on the motion?
Tony,
We got a unanimous vote, and we saw that Ann made the motion. We just didn't catch who was the second.
That was me.
it was Tony. Yeah.
Right.
Followed by discussion. Yeah.
The
Yes.
thumbs up from Mr. Hanlon. Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you. Okay. All right. That brings our meeting to a close.
Hey, before we adjourn, and I'm sorry I didn't catch this until before the meeting. So the meeting minutes that Ann needed updated, when you have them, Marlene, if you don't already, send them out to everyone.
Yeah, we'll
Let's
get
make
those
sure we
out
have it.
tomorrow.
We'll make sure we have the next agenda just so we can tie that off.
That was May 10th. Go ahead.
You actually can see them on, if you go on the June meeting, they're actually linked to the June meeting. You can actually see them right there.
Okay.
We'll send them out directly as well.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. And take comfort in knowing that you weren't there and we didn't see updates. So we said, let's make sure Ann gets a chance to review these before we approve them. So you have time to go in and look at them.
They were really good. Yeah, most definitely. I really appreciate you guys moving that item up to, or down to new business. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate it.
Happy to oblige. All right. That concludes our agenda. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Madam Chair, I move to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Second, all in favor? I think it's unanimous. Thank you, everybody.